So, good night to my fellow speakers and everyone who is watching. Thank you to Nation Swiss for inviting me to share my views. My name is Vasha Karina Maharaj, and I am a lawyer with a specialization in technology law. I obtained my LLB at Queen Mary University of London, and my master's was in law and technology at the University of California, Berkeley. I'm currently providing legal work to a financial technology or fintech startup company based across the EU. So, when considering the topic of discussion, I definitely think that technology will transform government now and in the future, possibly in more significant ways. It is therefore necessary to take precautions so that the transformation is beneficial to us all while the risks are mitigated. We have witnessed with the coronavirus pandemic how many of our daily activities like school, work, and recreation have moved into this digital space. I feel like e-government will become a reality in Trinidad and Tobago, as it has already become part of governance in other countries, for example, in the US, the UK, and across the European Union. So, for my contribution, I will speak about what I would like to see from e government and how the legal system can be used to fulfill these objectives. So, ideally, e government involving e procurement, e accounting, and e services would provide public services more efficiently for both the government itself, businesses, and citizens. There would be increased transparency and greater and more active participation of citizens in political life. The internet will not simply change the way that some government services are provided. It also has the potential to profoundly change the relationship between citizens and their government. The internet is facilitating communication among citizens and government. This enables citizens to exchange views on and mobilize around political and social issues while allowing the government to respond to the public's actions. So, in order to derive the potential benefits of e government, the legal system must be able to resolve its issues related to the potential for criminality. Crimes such as fraud, corruption, money laundering, identity theft, to name a few, affect government procurement, accounting, and services in the physical world. These same issues would occur in an online world as well, because the criminal conduct itself does not change. Committing fraud in person, in person is equivalent to committing fraud using online means. We will need to be prepared to deal with and deter criminal elements that will occur using technology. So, firstly, we have to build an awareness and sensitize citizens on the legality of online behaviors. While many people will acknowledge illegal behaviors should they occur in the real world, people may not know how these issues are treated when they occur online. Further, people may not be aware of their rights when issues occur online. For the most part, other common law countries have treated online activity in the same way that they would treat that activity in person. Our existing laws would be interpreted to cover our activities online. For example, recently there was an issue that was raised about copyright infringement as school moved online. I'm assuming teachers would have shared materials from textbooks to their students on online platforms. Now, sharing a small part of a copyright holder's materials for pedagogical purposes would not be considered copyright infringement. But this had to be clarified through a notice by the Ministry of Education. Teachers would have been aware of how the Copyright Act applied in the physical world, but there was a need for guidance on how the Copyright Act applies to a digital space. Similarly, when countries such as the United Kingdom established e-procurement, issues were raised on the validity of documents signed using e-signatures. In Trinidad and Tobago, the Electronic Transactions Act authorizes the use of electronic documents and electronic signatures for certain transactions. Should e-procurement become part of our society, it is likely that we will confront the subject again. And again, there might be the need for authorities to clarify how the Electronic Transactions Act's provisions on electronic signatures applies to documents used for e-procurement. So this brings me to my second point. It is expected that issues affecting e-procurement, e-services, and e-accounting will be resolved through our common law system. For example, should instances of corruption, fraud, or money laundering occur during e-procurement or e-accounting, there is existing legislation in place which resolves these issues, such as the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act and the Exchequer and Audit Act. The benefit to this is that the problems meet fast resolution. However, in these instances, the law will be reactive. In other words, a problem has to occur first, and then the judiciary will determine a solution. I think if we take a more proactive stance and begin to develop legislation, we will be in a position to guide how we want our e-government to function. Now, the development of legislation specifically tackling cybercrimes will be a long-term process, but I believe it necessary to use this approach to meet the needs of an e-government and a future that is so intertwined with technology. There had been an endeavor to bring a cybercrime bill in 2017, but this never made its way into legislation, and this is unfortunate. For an e-government to achieve its potential, I think we need the legislative backbone to encourage and support equitable resolutions and transparency, and so on. Laws are tools that can mold what we want from e-government. For example, we can put into law that government e-accounts are to be published quarterly on platforms, according to the International Public Sector Accounting Standards, that are publicly accessible. And this would have the effect of making the public more aware of how funds are allocated, thus increasing transparency. So, in conclusion, I foresee a future where governmental processes will take on an online existence. We must be encouraged to utilize the tools at our disposal, such as law, to craft the structure of an e-government that would work for us.